Watch this.
It's Wednesday, just before 5 p.m. You know what that means? It's time for the 208. Ahead, we are taking inventory on the Empowering Parents Grant. It appears tax dollars are being spent on things that, well, they're not supposed to be. So what's the deal with the popular education grant program for Idaho families? Flag Day is here. Do you know the history of the American flag? All the iterations? We're talking about changes through the years, and today on Flag Day, a major change in Gem County. And speaking of flags, what do you think about this one? Well, apparently, it was at one time the worst flag out there. Of course, according to critics, we are dialing it back to the classic conundrum: how to get the perfect flag design. 208 starts now. Thanks for joining us on the 208. Brian Holmes is off today. Let's start the program with a rhetorical question for you. How can you tell the difference between good oversight finding issues versus a flawed program that was destined to see problems? I don't have an answer for you, but that is the question that is front and center in the Empowering Parents Grants discussion. If you don't know this, Empowering Parents, it sends Idaho families with students funds that can be used to purchase educational goods and services. And the idea is to take on COVID learning loss. So families are eligible for grants up to $1,000 per student with a maximum award of $3,000 per family. And those grant dollars are used in an online marketplace run by a contracted company called Odyssey, where families can get supplies and educational materials. And Idaho law makes it very clear money has to be used on eligible education expenses. In fact, Idaho Code 33-1030 gives an exact definition in law and detail on what is and is not eligible. Since programs like Strong Families, Strong Students and Empowering Parents have rolled out, there's been questions about who's keeping track and if all dollars are going to eligible purchases. It appears the answer to the second question right now is no. Back in mid-February, the State Board of Education staff says that they noticed some purchases for things such as clothing, televisions, smartwatches, and household cleaning supplies, items not qualified for purchase under the Idaho program. We told you about this on May 1st. Now, purchases from the program have been under review and continue to be. And this bubbled all the way up to Governor Little's office. Governor Little wrote a letter to the leaders of the State Board of Education on June 9th. Let's review the highlights. Again, we reported issues stemming from at least February. So Governor Little writes that only recently did his staff get specifics on the issue. He writes, quote, "I expect all agencies within my administration to communicate early and often on matters of this magnitude. Let's work toward improved communication on the internal OSB staff review moving forward." So some things to work on, but Little's letter has a clear plan and instructions to the State Board of Education. He says that he wants to make the process of reviews faster and include more resources. Little writes, "I am offering the Division of Financial Management to contract with an independent third party to conduct a full financial audit of the program and status of eligible versus ineligible purchases." The governor goes on to say that by June 16th, which is this Friday, the State Board needs a report and plan of action to strengthen accountability and review all the contracts to see if Idaho can recoup tax dollars that were used on impermissible purchases. So for now, those asking, no, we don't know if Idaho can recoup tax dollars. We'll have to find out. The current punishment, if you're wondering, for misusing program funds per the law that set up the program, the account with impermissible purchases, it loses access to the grant program. So what is the State Board of Education going to do? Well, they met today for their board meeting over in Pocatello, and the team there talked it over and learned insights on the program. For starters, there is a massive scope that is now being looked at.
Began an independent review of all the purchases made in the platform. That's a pretty big undertaking because we're looking at a manual review of more than 50,000 purchases. Each of those purchases contains multiple items, and so this has been a really intensive process and has taken a bit of time to conduct.
So what about the data? What does it say so far on the reviews that have been done? Well, the State Board reported today that through 75% of the review, they believe about 80% of all purchases are okay. And you can see there about 50,000 students saw a total of just under $50 million in funds sent across Idaho. They tell us that about 7% of purchases appears to be things that really aren't covered in the program. Smartwatches, cleaning supplies, TVs, things of that nature. However, there is some gray area with another 13% of purchases that the state board wants the review committee for their program to look at.
These would be things like ballet shoes and karate uniforms that a student might be using in the legitimate pursuit of a physical education course they're enrolled in. It might be items like backpacks or computer cases that are really essential equipment for those students. So rather than notifying all of those parents that they're instantly ineligible, we've decided to take that as a package to the panel and ask the panel to have a discussion about whether or not they want to make a recommendation to this board.
So here we are. The reviews will continue, and we expect to see some major moves between now and July 10th when the next review session is up. State Board acknowledges the issues and says that they want to have everything fixed and in place by the fall. And the general consensus from the discussion today from the State Board, the program is good when operating how it should. Fixes need to be made. So we'll keep a close eye on this, specifically if Idaho can get money back from the ineligible purchases. Now, this whole situation struck a chord with you at home. We saw some of your text messages asking how this will impact the possibility of an ESA program. We can't say, but there seems to be two popular camps we'll just highlight. People who say that the securities on the new program worked, found the issues that can be fixed. Others say it's a bad omen for future programs like it, highlighting that it's a good chance that tax dollars will not be used for the right thing. Time will tell. Yesterday, we told you about Brandon Durst in the West Bonner County School District meeting discussion. He wants to be the superintendent there. He had big demands in his contract. Long story short, he asked for a lot of extra perks, and the school board basically said no and slimmed the contract down. But what was possibly more interesting is that Durst might not even be the next superintendent because he isn't technically qualified. A short time ago also, the West Bonner School District Board of Trustees, they held a special board meeting to discuss consideration and approval of rescinding the selection of superintendent candidate, which is for Durst. And only if he is considered qualified and he is approved, then they will discuss the consideration and approval of superintendent contract addendum. So the meeting ended with no action. The board removed the item from the agenda altogether. Long story short, there is now new evidence, according to the board, and it's sounding like that there are concerns about, quote, improper and unprofessional discussions on the hiring of Durst between district employees and legal counsel. The crowd watching a short time ago was not happy.
Chair calls for a motion to table item 4B.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting over.
So we're working to figure out more about the situation there, and we'll talk with you about that when we can. Well, happy Flag Day for those who celebrate. Memorial and Labor Day tend to draw the most attention through the summer months, but Flag Day has a long and respected history to recognize, well, the American flag. And the flag, it's gone through a series of redesigns and stuff like that. Before the stars and stripes we know today, things look different. How about this? Do you recognize any of these flags? Well, a 2006 congressional report on the topic detailed early flags used, saying that the first flags adopted by our colonial forebears were symbolic of their struggles with the wilderness of the new land. Beavers, pine trees, rattlesnakes, anchors, and various other insignia were affixed to different banners with mottos such as hope, liberty, appeal to heaven, don't tread on me. And later, well, we saw the Union Jack spinoff. You seen that one? Well, George Washington, the president, maybe you've heard of him, he did away with that. He didn't particularly like that. So instead, they went to this, 13 stars, the stars and stripes. And as you may know, 13 stars, well, eventually they went to 15 stars, a nice design, and the stars were added as the states were. So other designs are out there. And here we are today. Now, since 1885, Flag Day, it's been a celebration of the red, white, and blue, and today's the holiday. And it started with a teacher in Wisconsin who decided to hold the first formal observance. And President Woodrow Wilson officially established the holiday in 1916, a year before the United States joined World War I. And the flag, it's a symbol of our nation, 50 states united under one country. And the flag, it's gone through changes, and so have the physical flags that have flown through thick and thin around our community. Over in Emmett, Idaho today, big day of change. Andrew Bartline reports.
To have its own day, that's got to be one important piece of fabric.
Honor guard, 10.
The ceremony will begin in 1 minute.
But just fabric?
Forward, march.
That's not all.
Left, right, everything that I believe and stand for, the values that the United States was built upon.
Like the people serving under its banner, the flag too must rest.
That's good right there.
Today, this one's officially retired.
I spent my time in Germany back in the late 60s. Wasn't much going on then.
Serving for our military,
Yeah.
Ray Willis retired
We
too.
try to change ours at least once a year, or when it gets tattered, get a little windy lately.
There's always new fabric, sure. But in the same way, there's nothing new about it.
Honor guard, order, arms.
It's completely uniform to respect the men and women in uniform.
I mean, it's blowing in the wind perfectly right now. What are you feeling?
Yeah, well, if I do too long, it can almost come to tears, but it's just the meaning of it. It just sinks in after you realize it. Kind of cliche, you know, the meaning of the freedom, the opportunities, and being a veteran, well, it just still there.
And Ray's not the only one who feels it.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Mary DeMock sees it as a symbol of unity.
But I really believe in the two-party system.
Are you telling me there's Democrats in Gem County?
A few.
Where are they?
They're hiding.
Well, sort of.
But no, we're not hiding anymore. We're proud to be Americans and we're proud to be Democrats.
She's proud to be here.
I get very emotional when I look at the flag.
Why?
Because our country's so special. You know, it's a shining light in the whole world.
And here, the flag shining a light over Emmett. Regardless of political party or platform, the flag flies overall.
Do you still feel that it stands for those same things today in 2023?
Well, it's always stand for them, just not everybody believes totally in it, but that's okay. Everybody's got there, and that's what it's for.
Does that upset you that you see that people aren't seeing the flag for what you see it as?
Well, on an average, no, but everybody's got their right to their say, shall we say, but, well, they say, take the good with the bad.
The flag is sacred, and I think it represents the best of our country.
That's one important piece of fabric, all right.
Are you optimistic about the future of this country?
I am.
Yes, I have to be, or it'd be depressing.
As long as we stay together as Americans and not fight each other.
Under the same flag, maybe it's a day to know that each other, that's the real fabric of our nation.
The 1st Emmett Police Honor Guard performed that flag retirement ceremony today, and their team leader said this was also their first ceremony as an Honor Guard team. The officer we talked to was a Marine for a decade and a half, and he says that he's done this countless times before, and actually today he had a little bit of nerves, hoping to get it perfect that first time with this new Emmett Police Honor Guard. So for him, Joe, the big importance is showing that younger generation, and there were a lot of younger kids out there, the importance and respect that he personally has for the flag, that his fellow officers in uniform have for the flag, and of course those vets there as well when we talked with Ray.
And it's really interesting, too, when you talk through the different generations of what the American flag means to them. You know, soldiers that came home from Vietnam, they have a very different take than, you know, people that grew up in the 9/11 era. And, you know, for better or for worse, I always love hearing those conversations.
Yeah, and it was funny, too, when we talked with Mary, I believe was her name. First thing she told me when I talked to her is, I'm a Democrat. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what you have to say. And there might be someone on the other end of the political spectrum, but when they look at that flag, they have very similar feelings. So that was kind of cool to notice today, too.
Andrew Bartline reporting out from Gem County today. Thank you very much, Andrew. And speaking of flags, how about this? Did you know that Idaho at one point was home to the worst flag in North America? Now, that's according to a vexillologist, who is a person who studies flags, and I definitely said that wrong. But anyways, they're legit. They know what they're talking about. And they said that Pocatello didn't stand for it, so they fixed it. We'll show you how in today's 208 Redial.
And how would you like your eggs?
Jerry's Jumbo Cafe in Pocatello.
Jumbos.
How about a little coffee?
Is your typical diner.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Serving your typical diner fare.
Egg over easy, hash browns and sausage.
And where you'll hear your typical topics of the day.
Montpelier was where they was hooking up to the steam.
Worries about water.
Now they're all worried we got too much now.
Do you want coffee?
With a side of gripes.
Cold enforcement.
About the government.
City of Pocatello.
The morning crowd that usually congregates at this counter.
Yeah, just come in here for the entertainment.
Can complain with the best of them.
The American way.
Even about the worst of things.
The ugliest one in the country.
Rod Teeter is talking about Pocatello's city flag.
Really, we have a flag?
The one deemed by experts
Patty or Link?
as the worst across an entire continent.
I don't even know what the Pocatello flag looks like. Oh!
Yeah, this is what someone decided was the Gate City's garish emblem of honor.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Only it wasn't really meant to be a flag.
It was originally designed as a logo for a Chamber of Commerce Community Pride program.
Greg Gunter designed it back in 1999, and it spread around the city. Still showing up today on shop windows and appropriately on trash trucks. Mysteriously, it made its way onto a couple of flags.
To this day, we don't know who did it.
One flew briefly in front of the city's water treatment plant.
And the other was stuffed in the corner at the library.
And that flag would have remained just a footnote.
It's actually pretty big.
An archive in a storage closet.
This is the flag.
Fans of my radio show and podcast,
But then Roman Mars, a man considered by many as a design guru, gave a TED Talk.
Yes, he did.
About flags.
And finally, when we're all done, we can do something about Pocatello, Idaho, considered by the North American Vexillological Association as the worst city flag in North America.
Oh, sure. It seemed funny at the time.
That thing has a trademark symbol on it, people.
But not to everyone.
You know, I giggled at first. No, actually, I didn't even giggle. Now that I think, I was a little angry inside.
Casey was like a lot of people in Pocatello back in 2015, completely unaware the city even had a symbol.
I was the mayor for, 5.5, 6 years before I realized that we had a flag.
But being belittled by vexillologists, nobody needs that.
And to know that millions of people were watching this and reacting that way probably made me want to do something about it.
So Casey and a lot of others did.
To be able to be the worst, that was a gift from heaven.
The city saw it as an opportunity and formed a design committee, which was soon overwhelmingly wrapped
709
in flag ideas.
So 709 from over 30 U.S. states and 26 different countries around the world.
This month, they will whittle those hundreds down to 10. And this summer, they plan to unveil a new version of Pocatello's flag, a standard with a higher standard.
And hopefully, we end up with, we go from worst to first.
Oh, they'll still be proud to be Pocatello.
We are proud to be Pocatello.
But that banner from before will likely be banished once again to the back room of the library.
Proud to be Pocatello. Proud to be Pocatello, but maybe with a different flag representing us.
Brian Holmes, Idaho's News Channel 7.
If you know of a bad flag, we'd love to see it. And you know how to get in touch with us. You can text us anytime, 208-321-5614. Please include your name and hashtag the 208. Rolls on after this.
A pretty significant case of weather whiplash from yesterday to today with that cold front that tore through overnight with gusto. What a light show from Mother Nature. Hopefully you're up late enough to see it, or possibly it woke you up with those bursts of rain and lots of rumbles of thunder and amazing, abundant lightning strikes. We did hear about nearly an inch of rain that fell in portions of North Boise, just kind of bursts of rain. So behind all of that, we will be dry and pleasant for the next several days. However, on Father's Day this coming Sunday, a cold front will mix things up again, and that will lead to a chilly wrap up to spring. Remember, a week from today, we officially kick off the summer season. For the first time in weeks, we are not seeing those cumulus clouds building up over the mountains. That indicates a much drier air mass that is in play. And in fact, our humidity is down to 21%, much lower than it's been in days past. 75 in Boise with sunshine, perfectly pleasant. Those winds, though, out of the west-northwest have been a little bit brisk today. Still a very refreshing Wednesday overall. Temperatures in the mid-70s across the rest of the Treasure Valley, low 60s and even up to 70 in Haley. So there goes the cold front. Here comes that cooler, drier air behind it. We will continue to warm into Saturday, but then here comes that next system dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska overnight Saturday into Sunday. As it comes in much colder early next week, Juneteenth on Monday, we'll have a brisk wind, and in fact, snow levels will drop with that system. That we could be talking about a dusting of spring snow by Tuesday morning. No snow here in the Boise area, but we do have a lot going on from the 80s on Saturday, low 70s for Father's Day on Sunday, mid 60s is all we get to Monday and Tuesday.
Seasons change, as Rachel highlighted, and champions are crowned. So congratulations are in order for two new world champions. The Denver Nuggets are NBA champions. That's just a personal note for you. On a news note, the Vegas Golden Knights are now Stanley Cup champions. And Vegas finished up the Florida Panthers by a score of 9-3 last night to take the series. Final steps of a huge hockey journey to win the Stanley Cup. But do you remember the first steps of the journey? Well, they were right here in the city of Boise. Vegas kicked off their very first game of the preseason at the Idaho Central Arena, beating the Arizona Coyotes 5-1 that night. In the process, a lot of new hockey fans were born here. The fans, as you see, they loved it. And the team they picked is Vegas. And when I talk to fans why, well, they say the Golden Knights are the first pro team I saw, and they played here in Boise. So that's why I cheer for them. So congratulations to the Vegas Golden Knights. And I guess that means Stanley Cup runs, they start here in Boise. So any other NHL teams want a game here, reach out to me personally, I suppose. All right, we'll be back. All right, let's get to the comments. Justin, let's do this. Yeah. All right, so this person says, Joe from Mountain Home, Flag Day, yes, why not mention the U.S. Army birthday? It is the U.S. Army birthday here today on June 14th, so happy birthday, and thank you for everyone's service. This person says, so what is the new Pocatello flag? Well, Jamie, Deborah has the answer for you. Deborah sent this in. This is the brand new flag. Your choice if you like it better or worse. I think it's great. You can think about it till tomorrow. We'll see you just before 5 o'clock on Thursday.